9. Carlinos Brazil. There are 4 different species of anaconda. Found throughout South America, they're some of the world's largest snakes. These gargantuan reptiles are rumored to sometimes grow as long as 100 feet, but the largest anaconda on record was a female only measuring 28 feet long. Still a very large snake. She weighed an estimated 500 pounds. Anacondas aren't venomous. They constrict their prey to death, and given their size and speed, they could easily kill a human, although attacks are rare. A pair of divers and their tour guide had a close call last year when a 23-foot-long anaconda slid past them at arm's length along the Amazon River in Brazil. One of the tourists, Daniel Alexandre Rodriguez, described the encounter as terrifying in an interview with Brazilian newspaper G1, but he also said he felt lucky to see the magnificent creature up close. Another man, Carlinos Brazil, was less enthusiastic about crossing paths with an anaconda, and with good reason. His dog, named Lion, was attacked by the serpent while drinking from a nearby puddle. Harrowing footage shows Brazil wrestling with a 15-foot-long reptile in an attempt to free his canine companion. By the time the snake released the dog from its clutches, he was unconscious. Thankfully, he eventually came around and received a clean bill of health from the veterinarian. It's probably safe to say that Brazil rescued his pup just in the nick of time. 8. Matias Pereira. Matias Pereira de Arrojo was just 8 years old in 2007 when he came terrifyingly close to death while playing near a creek outside his grandfather's house in Brazil. He was with his cousin Flavio when an anaconda slithered up to him, took him to the ground, and began coiling itself around his small body. Flavio scrambled for help, racing against the clock to save Matias, who had started to suffocate. The boy's grandfather, Joaquim Pereira, heard him screaming for help and rushed to the scene. He beat the anaconda with rocks and hacked at it with a machete in a desperate attempt to free his grandson. Pereira spent 30 minutes uncoiling the snake from Matias's body. The victim received 21 stitches to the chest where the reptile had bitten him, but thankfully he survived. An anaconda can kill a man in just a few minutes. Attacks are rare, but they are known to go after children and small pets more often than adults. The snake that attacked Matias weighed an estimated 80 pounds. He told the press that the attack happened so fast he didn't have time to react before he was caught in the creature's clutches. Matias said that he was terrified of dying, and his grandfather described the ordeal as the most terrifying thing he'd ever seen in his life. The little boy's survival was certainly a happy ending, but it came with some serious emotional trauma. 7. Noah and Connor Barthe. One night in 2013, Noah and Connor Barthe spent the night at their friend's apartment in New Brunswick, Canada, as they had many times before. While the 4- and 6-year-old brothers were asleep, a 14-foot-long African rock python escaped from its cage and slithered into an air duct. The vent collapsed under the 100-pound reptile's weight, and the snake landed directly on top of Noah and Connor. Jean-Claude Savoye, the father of the friend the boys were visiting, discovered their bodies and called the police. Sadly, it was too late to save the brothers, who were covered in blood and puncture wounds. An autopsy revealed that they died from asphyxiation. Police charged Savoye with criminal negligence. Prosecutors claimed that the snake had a history of escaping and aggressive behavior, and they accused Savoye of not having the proper license to own the creature. They also blamed him for failing to prevent a needless tragedy. According to court testimony from Constable Stéphanie Dugas, who was at the scene of the tragedy, the python was clearly agitated. After Savoye returned it to its cage, it reportedly made growling noises and lunged at the glass. Experts testified that it was rare for a rock python to act so vicious, and that the species isn't known for going on random killing sprees, leading prosecutors to bring up the possibility of foul play. Savoye's lawyer argued that his client thought the snake was too big to fit into the air duct, so he saw no reason to secure it, even though the snake could access the vent from its cage. Snake expert John Kendrick told CBS News that a startled python will grab onto anything nearby for stability, including people. Savoye was ultimately found innocent of any wrongdoing in the boys' deaths. 6. Nathan Chatkuty. A famous snake handler from Brisbane, Australia, nearly died in 2017 after he was bitten by a pet snake he had recently gotten. 19-year-old Nathan Chatkuty was trying to put his new inland taipan back into its cage when the creature lashed out and bit him. The inland taipan is considered one of the world's most venomous snakes, so the fact that this guy had one in the first place is a little hard to believe. While the species is shy by nature and rarely attacks humans, it will do so if it feels threatened, and its venom is incredibly deadly. Without treatment, a bite from one of these elusive creatures can kill a person in as little as 45 minutes. Knowing his son's life was in danger, Nathan's father immediately called emergency services. News headlines around the world reported on the case as the young man fought for his life in the intensive care unit of a Queensland hospital. Inland taipans typically only bite when provoked or mishandled. Because Nathan is a seasoned handler who's been working with snakes since the age of 5, many people were surprised by the incident. But it proved that wild animals are truly unpredictable and will react according to instinct, even under the most experienced care. It appears as though Nathan eventually recovered and went back to handling snakes, despite his brush with death. Within months of the ordeal, he began uploading new videos to his YouTube channel, which is dedicated to his love for reptiles. And he seems to still be working with snakes based on his most recent posts. His experience is one of just a handful of inland taipan bites on record. All the known victims to date have survived thanks to quick medical treatment, according to the Australian Museum. The species' venom stops blood from clotting and has neurotoxic effects that can lead to paralysis. Urgent first aid and treatment are not only life-saving, but can prevent a lifetime of medical problems. Do you know of anyone that's been bit by a venomous snake? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. 5. Hengchuan. When 29-year-old Hengchuan went outside his home in Penang, Malaysia to turn off a water pump one night back in 1995, he had no idea that his life was in danger. A sneaky python attacked the rubber plantation worker, whose brother called the police. Sadly, by the time officers arrived, it was too late. The man was dead, and the snake was in the process of trying to swallow him. The hungry reptile already had Chuan's head in its mouth and had crushed some of his bones. Police shot and killed the snake, which at 23 feet long was the longest python ever seen in Malaysia at the time. It was also the first time a python had attacked or tried to swallow a person in the country, according to zoologist Kieu Bong Heng, who spoke with the Associated Press following the tragedy. District Police Chief Mohammed Mokhtar Ahmad told the news agency that the python was 10 inches in diameter and weighed 308 pounds. Sadly, a human is no match for a snake of this size. The moment the creature decided to attack Chuan, he was more or less doomed. 4. Kelvin Katoka. 25-year-old Kelvin Katoka was working as a truck driver in Zambia in 2013 when a python attacked him on the job. He hadn't noticed that there was a snake in his work vehicle before he got behind the wheel at a copper mine. The python lunged at the unsuspecting victim and threw him on the ground. A lengthy struggle ensued as it began coiling itself around Katoka's body. Speaking with press agency AFP from his hospital bed, he explained that he did everything he could to get the snake off him. He kicked and even bit the python before he finally got a knife out of his pocket and stabbed the creature several times with it. We aren't sure why he felt the need to bite the snake before stabbing it, but anyways, the snake began to loosen itself, but it wasn't about to give up without a fight. Soon enough, the reptile tightened its grip on Katoka and, in his words, started to apply saliva all over his face in preparation to swallow him. At that point, the victim began vomiting blood and fainted. Two of Katoka's co-workers noticed what was going on. They killed the snake and rushed him to the hospital, where he spent over a month recovering. If it hadn't been for the quick-thinking pair, he may very well have lost his life. Katoka told the media that he was lucky to be alive, but that he still struggled with pain and weakness and knew his life would never be the same. 3. Jennifer Hay. Jennifer and Randy Hay are avid hikers who've traveled extensively since they got together in 2003. They recently decided to celebrate their 13th wedding anniversary by taking a trip to Shawnee National Forest in southern Illinois. They ended the first day of their vacation with an evening hike. Jennifer, who was wearing sandals, felt a sudden sharp pain on her ankle during the couple's walk back to their vehicle. She told news station Fox 19 Now that she initially assumed she'd been stung by a bee and continued walking, but after taking just a few steps, she knew that something more serious had happened. It was then that she spotted a venomous copperhead snake coiled on the ground, just feet away from her. Randy dialed 911 while he tried to keep his wife as calm as possible, per the operator's instructions. But the pain was excruciating, as Jennifer later described in a media interview, stating that she kind of felt like I got dipped in acid and that everything was on fire. When it comes to administering antivenom, time is of the essence, but the nearest hospital was a 45-minute drive away, so paramedics decided to call a helicopter. Jennifer asked the emergency responders if a medical flight was truly necessary, to which they responded, "Do you like your foot?" She was lucky enough not to need the antivenom and was sent home to recover. Just when it seemed like the Hayes could work on putting the ordeal behind them, however, they received a $46,000 bill for the helicopter flight. Their insurance was refusing to pay because they hadn't obtained a prior authorization, which is understandable considering the urgent nature of the circumstances. Thankfully, the issue was traced to a paperwork glitch and the company agreed to cover the air ambulance costs. 2. Peter Dube. While tending to his mango orchard outside his home in Zimbabwe late last year, a 60-year-old farmer named Peter Dube was bitten by a black mamba. This highly venomous species grows up to 14 feet long. It has a bad reputation for being extremely aggressive when threatened and is one of the world's fastest snakes, slithering at speeds of up to 12.5 miles per hour. When it comes to black mamba bites, it is imperative for the victim to receive antivenom as quickly as possible. Before the antivenom existed, nearly all bites were fatal, killing most victims within 20 minutes. Unfortunately, the antidote is not always readily available, especially in more rural areas like where Mr. Dube lived. The hospital he went for his snake bite didn't have the antivenom on hand, so doctors began making arrangements to transport him to another facility 60 miles away. But they didn't act fast enough, and sadly, Dube passed away while waiting to be taken to the other hospital. He left behind a wife and 3 sons. It's especially sobering to realize that if Dube had received the antivenom, he would probably be alive and well today. Sadly, black mamba deaths remain common in certain regions due to the scarcity of the antidote. And it's desperately needed in these areas where humans are increasingly encroaching on the species' territory and encounters are becoming more frequent. 1. Ataporn Bunmakchue. While using the toilet at his home near Bangkok, Thailand in 2016, an unfortunate man named Ataporn Bunmakchue felt something bite him in the most intimate of areas. It was a 10-foot-long python, which had slithered its way through the plumbing and into the man's bathroom, where it clamped its jaws down on his nether region. Ataporn spent a grueling half-hour trying to get the snake to release its grip. With help from his wife and a neighbor, he was eventually able to pry the creature's mouth open. As soon as the reptile let go, Ataporn fainted. Emergency responders found his bathroom covered in blood. They removed the snake and released it back into the wild. In the meantime, Bourne went to the hospital. Doctors told him that they expected him to fully recover from his injuries. This obviously came as good news to the man, who could be seen smiling in news interviews from his hospital bed. And while Bourne's wife and children were slightly traumatized by the incident, hospital director Dr. Chutima Pacharian commended the patient's positive attitude. All things considered, it's understandable that someone would be extra chipper to learn that their privates were still intact after a python sank its teeth into them. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn about more shocking reptile attacks, let us know in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you next time. Bye.